It's the AFC East post-draft, post-free agency recap and power rankings. Do I know how dumb it is to do power rankings this time of year? No. Why the fuck would I waste my own time? I'm here to talk about which team made the kinds of moves that got my dick hard, and which teams forced me to bulk order a supply of Viagra and Blue Chew just to muster the strength to write 3 to 4 paragraphs for this episode. So, which of the AFC East teams improved the most this offseason? That's good sports. First, let's glance at the consensus draft grades. According to this chart from Renee Bugner, the Jets have the best consensus draft grade in the universe. The lowest grade they received is an A-. Not valedictorian material, but pretty damn good. The Patriots received the worst consensus grades, a D average, which is hilarious. The Dolphins were down there as well, but that's because they only had 4 picks, and the Bills a respectable B average. But let's start at the bottom, the Patriots. Name a worse combo than the Pats and the draft. Will Smith and award shows? The USFL and my YouTube channel? Gandhi at a buffet? If New England wants to succeed with Kraft, Mac, and Jones, Bill Belichick has to give up control of the draft. To me, he looks more lost than this Sky sports reporter thinking Paolo Napoleon James Banchero is Patrick Mahomes.
The real focus.
Okay, it's not Patrick. That's why he ignored me in the beginning. But what is your name, sir?
Paolo Banchero.
Right, okay. Well, I thought I was talking to somebody else. So I'm sorry about that. Whatever.
Although a 6'10" basketball player named Napoleon, equally hilarious. After getting absolutely throttled by the Buffalo Bills 47-17 to the tune of 5 passing TDs and over 300 yards by Josh Allen in the playoffs, what did the Patriots do? That's right, they let the best player in their secondary and Jesus Christ Jackson walk. Arguably the best corner in the NFL last season, damn good the year before, and Belichick was like, "Nah, we don't need to pay you. Where's our best guard? Send him to Tampa for a 5th so that asshole Brady will stop saying I never gave him anything." Now some of the moves that look a little weird but are probably the correct move, releasing aging linebackers Kyle Van Noy and not re-signing Dante Hightower or Jamie Collins. That's not a good position to be slow and old, which is why they traded Chase Winovich for Mack Wilson. I feel like Mack could excel in New England. My favorite reunion, though, has to be the homecoming of Malcolm Butler. Do you know why we didn't see Belichick's dog at the draft this year? Because Malcolm Butler is out of the doghouse, and that bitch went back in. And that's the proper use of the word bitch. Now, everyone laughed at the Cole Strange draft pick in the first, not because of Cole, who was considered a 2nd to 3rd round guard, but because of this photo afterwards. That is strange. Cole will come in and replace Shaq Mason, so credit crazy old Belichick for guaranteeing he got that done. The interesting thing about the Pats draft was New England took 7 offensive players. That was the most by any team, and the most ever by Belichick. They got the fastest player in the draft in receiver Tyquan Thornton, who can run faster than Mac Jones can throw far, but every 5 years or so, the fastest player in the draft turns out to be pretty damn good. They tried to draft J.C. Jackson's replacement in Houston corner Marcus Jones, but realized that was the wrong Jones, and then nabbed the one they wanted, Jack Jones from Arizona State later. If they can both start alongside Jonathan Jones in that secondary, that's going to be really confusing for opposing quarterbacks. 3 Joneses. Looks like Belichick isn't crazy. He's still playing 5D Minesweeper. Or he keeps accidentally drafting guys named Jones. Now the Patriots also lost Josh McDaniels to the Raiders. just like losing your girlfriend to Joe Exotic. I do not think McDaniels will be a good head coach, but I know he's a great offensive coordinator, and that's a big void in the Patriots organization. The Pats' biggest need is keeping up with the Bills, not the Joneses, and I don't think they did that. I do like the addition of Devontae Parker at receiver, who essentially rendered Stephon Gilmore useless to Belichick all the way back in 2019. Please subscribe here, and haha, the ad's coming later than you're used to, isn't it? Today's episode is sponsored by Blue Block's Blue Light Glasses, and you know what they say, 4 eyes are better than 2, especially when it's blocking the blue. Blue light, that is, and they definitely say that. TVs, computers, and phones, between working and relaxing, I'm staring at one of them almost all day long. It's embarrassing how much I stare at screens, which is why I started using Blue Block's Blue Light Blue Blocking Glasses. I needed to reduce eye strain because my vision was blurred by the end of the day, and not by drinking like it was in college. My sister was actually the person to recommend I do this when she worked at an optometrist's office, and I chose Blue Blocks because they have the best blue blocking glasses in the business. So if you want to check them out, go to blueblocks.com/thatsgoodsports and use the code thatsgoodsports at checkout to get 20% off. And to view the incredible variety of frame options they have to offer, BLUBLOX.com/thatsgoodsports. Then we've got the Buffalo Bills, who were 13 seconds away from advancing to the AFC Championship, where I think they would have gotten to the Super Bowl. They had the 3rd best scoring offense and the best scoring defense, and somehow they chargered that shit. I do think they got better this offseason though. Obviously, it starts with the addition of Von Miller, who they locked down with a 6-year, $120 million deal that I'm sure is mostly made up. The Bills had 42 sacks last season, which was 11th in the league, and I think Von Miller could push them into the top 5. Adding Von, though, addresses one of their biggest needs, which isn't sacks, but a lackluster pass rush. 42 sacks, that's respectable, but I think that was more a result of coverage sacks. Jerry Hughes led the team in pressures with 55. And now he is a Houston Texan. Von had 82 pressures last season, and the highest coverage grade of any edge player on earth. Von will make every part of the Bills' defense better, and I think the pass rush more consistent. We know Von's good. I don't need to beat a dead horse, even though I already did, but I think the Bills made some quiet moves that made them significantly better. First off, I liked replacing Cole Beasley with Jamison Crowder. Crowder's numbers have been deflated by bad Jets quarterbacks the last few years, but he still had 51 receptions and 12 starts with Zachy Wilson. Adding him to an offense with Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis was shrewd, an under-the-radar pickup by Brandon Beane. Some say he's finally living up to the name Brandon. They also spent low-risk money on tight end O.J. Howard, who never quite put it together in Tampa. Howard was a beast at Alabama, if you recall, but peaked when Jameis Winston was throwing him the ball and got pushed aside when the Bucs added Rob Gronkowski once Brady got there. The Bills only spent $3.5 million on a 1-year deal for Howard, and I think that could be one of the best bargain signings of the offseason. Totally worth bringing an OJ back to Buffalo. Now, to the draft. The Bills resisted the temptation to spend a first-rounder on a running back and ended up drafting Florida corner Kaiir Elam, who takes more notes than a court stenographer. Trust me, I confirmed with Deshaun Watson. Then they ended up getting a solid running back, Dalvin Cook's brother, James. A quick Wikipedia search will show that in addition to rushing for 6.4 yards per carry his last year at Georgia, Cook also captained 3 voyages to the Pacific in the mid-18th century. Sadly, Cook was stabbed to death in Hawaii in 1779. So I am a bit skeptical about his ability to contribute this season. The Miami Dolphins, did they address their biggest need this offseason? Well, firing a coach who refused to lose, not really a need, and I don't know what the fuck that is. I don't know why Stephen Ross is allowed to own a football team, but I think they nailed the head coaching hire with Mike McDaniel, or as Ross called him, the perfect kind of black guy. I was prepared to be completely underwhelmed by the Dolphins in free agency. And then they added 3 running backs, 2 receivers, a guard, a tackle, and a Bridgewater. The trade for Tyreek Hill was a gift. Thank you, Miami, for taking that son of a bitch out of the AFC West. The Dolphins' offensive line was horrible last season. That was their biggest need. Tua and Big Ben had the least amount of time before being pressured last season at just 2.2 seconds. Adding Connor Williams, who had the 10th best pass blocking grade, and Terron Armstead 4th best, should be a huge boost for that line. Tua and the Dolphins' run game, which will actually exist with Mike McDaniel calling plays. McDaniel will find creative ways to get Tyreek Hill the ball, but Miami should be excited to see what he does with Chase Edmonds, Raheem Mostert, and now Sony Michel. That could be one of the most productive units next season. Miami also backed up the Brinks truck for Cowboys receiver Cedric Wilson, who kind of got lost in the shuffle in Dallas, but has a hell of an arm. I predict at least 2 passing TDs from Cedric Wilson this season. Now, the Dolphins only had 4 picks in the draft, starting in the 3rd round. 2 of those 4 picks were linebackers, which is odd considering linebacker Rip Van Ginkel can play all 4 linebacking positions at the same damn time. The Dolphins' outlook in 2022 completely depends on how Tua meshes with Mike McDaniel. He's gotten the vote of confidence from his head coach and GM. He's gotten the weapons, and now it's time to actually do something besides throw 8-yard passes to Jalen Waddle that go the distance. Maybe 6-yarders to Tyreek Hill. And finally, the New York Jets. One of the darlings of the NFL draft, has Jets fans feeling cautiously optimistic for the first time since Mark Sanchez. When I watched the Jets last year, I saw promise, and his name was Mike White, and he had the shortest Hall of Fame career I've ever seen, just topping Matt Flynn. Now, if you pair the draft with the strong free agency round, the direction Robert Saleh has the team going, New York is an intriguing team. That said, none of it matters if Zach Wilson doesn't take a big leap in his 2nd season. Looking at the 2021 first-round QBs not named Mac Jones, the good news for the Jets is we don't know which one of these quarterbacks will be good. Wilson, Lawrence, Fields, Lance. Any one of them could emerge as the top dog, and I think Zach Wilson has the best chance. That said, the Jets doubled down on 2 key areas, tight end and secondary, stealing Bengals fans' favorite tight end, CJ Uzomah and Tyler Conklin from Minnesota. I think CJ will be big for Zach Wilson in the passing game. The Jets lost safety Marcus May, but brought in a really underrated player in Jordan Whitehead from the Bucks, and took one of Seattle's best players in the secondary in DJ Reed. Throw in who many believe may be the best corner from the draft in Saucy Gardner, plus the return of Carl Lawson, who had 64 pressures the last time he played in 2020, their 3rd first-round draft pick, Jermaine Johnson, on the edge, and the Jets' defense under Saleh could possibly be a top 10 unit this season. A lot of what goes well for the Jets on offense will also depend on Mekhi Becton staying healthy. Unlike the Dolphins, the Jets line was decent and was more a victim of bad QB play last season. Rookie running back Breece Hall should take some of the pressure off Wilson if he can be a 1,000-yard back, but I'm most intrigued by Ohio State receiver Garrett Wilson. I think that's the biggest boost to their offense and could be a real difference maker for his young QB. Bottom line, the Jets did a lot, and all of it speaks to being better. Final power rankings for these teams. Number 4 in last place. At 4 I have the New England Patriots. Remember me when this comes true and we witness one of the biggest falls in sports history. This team has me more shriveled than a cold pool on a cloudy day in May. Number 3, the Jets. I'm putting you above New England for one reason and one reason only. Fuck the Patriots and their boring ass brand of football. Now, New York, you're still the worst team in the division, but it's time Pats fans remember what it feels like to be at the bottom. Number 2, I've got the Dolphins. Tua, believe. It's a make or break year for Tua, but Miami has all the pieces for him to succeed. No excuses, Dolphins. And number 1, it's the Bills. Buffalo all the fucking way this time. The Bills were a complete dominant team in the regular season last year, and all they did was upgrade. I didn't even mention this earlier, but their biggest addition might be getting Tre'Davious White back from injury. Unfortunately for them, they do have to play 2 games against Tyreek Hill this year, so these Dolphins-Bills games might actually decide the division. Boom, and that's your AFC East recap. Programming note, I'm gonna be out of town for a week, so you won't see videos. I tried to get ahead, but I couldn't because I have a child, so please don't forget about me. And watch all of my old videos. Maybe the USFL video if it gets unblocked.